She doesn't look at you for who you are, but for who she imagines you could become. You feel it in her eyes, don't you, that glimmer of hope, or is it hunger? You think you're being seen, but you're not. You're being measured, evaluated, scanned like a blank canvas waiting for her to paint her masterpiece, but you're not the masterpiece you never were. And Carl Jung warned you not with comforting words or self-love mantras. He warned you with the raw precision of a man who spent his life staring into the abyss of the human soul. He mapped the unconscious, that hidden territory operating beneath your decisions, desires, and relationships. And within that map, he discovered something unsettling about women. He discovered that many don't fall in love with you. They fall in love with what you represent in their inner world. It's not love, it's projection, a mental theater where you're simply the actor chosen to play a role she's been scripting since adolescence. And the most terrifying part, she doesn't even know she's doing it. She'll swear she loves you, but what she loves is the character, not the man, the promise, not your reality. Jung named that force the animus, the inner masculine image that lives in a woman's unconscious, and when that animus is immature or unintegrated, it turns tyrannical. It doesn't seek love, it seeks control. It doesn't want to understand you, it wants to shape you. It makes many women reject the real man and chase the ideal ghost, fall in love with the unreachable and destroy the available, demand perfection, and then despise obedience, and you confused. You fall because no one taught you the difference between being desired and being truly known. You confuse being chosen with being understood. You give yourself away thinking you're special, but you were just another face in her private movie. And when you no longer fit the script, she doesn't rewrite the story, she replaces the actor. That's simple, that brutal, but it doesn't end there, because it's not just about being discarded, it's about what happens inside you when you realize you were never loved for who you are, but for how well you played a role. That's the wound, not the rejection, but the revelation that everything you gave was to sustain a fantasy. And when that illusion collapses, you don't just lose the woman, you lose yourself. Jung knew most men never fully recover from that because they've been conditioned since boyhood to seek external validation, to measure themselves through someone else's desire, to define their worth through a woman's eyes. You were taught that being chosen is the goal, that if a woman loves you, then you must matter. But that's not self-worth, that's emotional dependency dressed as romance. And in that pursuit you adapt, you lower your voice, you adjust your choices, you abandon parts of yourself that don't fit what you think she wants. You call it love, you call it compromise. But Jung had another name: self-betrayal. Every time you bend to be accepted, every time you betray yourself to be liked, you strengthen the invisible prison where your identity is negotiable. She doesn't have to force you. You mold yourself voluntarily, and the cruelest irony is that the more you do it, the less attractive you become. Because as Jung pointed out, the feminine instinct doesn't respond to servitude or submission. It's not ignited by a "yes, dear." It's awakened by mystery, by solid presence, by a man who doesn't seek approval because he's already chosen himself. But that man is rare, because to become him, you first have to walk through fire. You have to face everything you've buried, your insecurities, your need to please, your fear of being alone, and that That is what almost no one is willing to do. It's easier to keep acting more comfortable, to be a likable version than to risk being your actual self. And yet, if you choose to keep acting, sooner or later you will pay the price, because no mask survives the passing of time. Illusion requires energy, performance drains you, and one day, without knowing exactly why, you'll feel empty, lifeless, directionless, not because you lacked love, but because you lost your connection to yourself. Jung witnessed it time and time again, men trapped in cycles of broken relationships, repeated dramas, and constant disappointment. Not because all women are the same, but because they never changed. They never individuated, never broke the spell of projection, never built an identity that could exist without someone else's reflection. And then comes the anger, the frustration. You start to blame. You say they're the problem, manipulative, cold, confusing. But Jung would ask a different question. Why did you choose that woman in the first place? Why did you walk into that dynamic? What part of you needed validation from someone who couldn't truly see you? That's the confrontation that hurts, because it's no longer about them. It's about you, about your fear of solitude, your desperate desire to be needed, your inability to stand without applause. And until you face that, you'll keep repeating the same role, the hero to a woman who doesn't want a man but a symbol. And when you can no longer uphold that symbol because no man can live as a myth forever, you become the villain, not because you did something wrong, but because you failed to fulfill a fantasy, and she won't even realize it. She'll blame you for not being enough, for changing, for failing to live up to a promise she never voiced but always expected. Jung called it possession, a state where consciousness is no longer in charge, but inner images, archetypes, and complexes are a relationship between two people, asleep, dreaming about what the other could be, never seeing who the other truly is. And until you awaken from that dream, you will keep being an actor, never a man. But when you do wake up, something deep begins to shift. Not like a bolt of lightning, not like a sudden revelation. It's slower, like a misaligned bone learning to heal after years of bearing a weight it was never meant to carry. And the first sign of awakening isn't peace, it's discomfort. You start to feel out of place, misaligned, and others notice it too. They sense that something in you no longer bends. You stop justifying, you stop explaining, you no longer seek to be understood, only to be real. And in a world addicted to validation that makes you a threat, Jung warned the individuated man, the one who has faced his shadow, is not welcome because he is no longer predictable. And predictability is what keeps society comfortable when you no longer fit the mold. They don't see you as free. They see you as problematic, as distant, as too much. But what's really happening is simple. You can't be controlled anymore, and that doesn't hurt you. It hurts them, especially those still living through their own projections. They'll say you've become cold, that you're detached, that you've lost your emotional availability, but what they really feel is the absence of control. They can't mold you anymore. You've stepped off the stage, you've stopped reading the script, and without the script, they don't know what to do with you, because now you're not a character, you're a human being. And here comes the cruel reversal. The more whole you become, the less you fit, the more authentic you are, the more rejection you attract, Because authenticity unsettles not because you're aggressive, but because your presence silently exposes the masks of others. And no one wants to look in the mirror without a filter. No one wants to remember they're acting too. So yes, they'll accuse you. They'll ice. Late, you'll walk alone. But for the first time, it won't be a punishment, it'll be a choice. Because now you know that losing a role is not losing your soul, it's reclaiming it. And only in that reclamation can something entirely different be born. Because once you become whole, you no longer seek women to fill a void. You no longer hand them your soul, hoping they'll carry it for you. You carry it yourself. And that changes everything, because from that place you no longer attract those who want to shape you. You attract those who have already shaped themselves, and then she appears, not a goddess, not a savior, not an admirer. A real woman with scars, with history, with truth, a woman who has also faced her shadow, who no longer projects, who isn't looking for a hero or a mask. She doesn't want you to complete her. She doesn't want to rescue you or be rescued. She simply wants to walk beside you. No roles, no scripts, no illusions. And that meeting, that collision of two awakened consciousnesses doesn't spark fireworks. It births silence, presence, a deep grounded stillness. There is no hysteria, no dependency, no desperation, only choice. Love without chains. Jung called it the most dangerous kind of love because it doesn't come from need but from freedom. And the truth is, very few ever reach this place. Most give up long before they settle for performance, for being desired, for attention. Even if it's built on lies, because facing themselves still feels more terrifying than pretending. But if you have the courage to keep walking, to endure the rejection, the solitude, the emptiness, then one day at the edge of something painfully beautiful, you'll meet yourself. And on that day, women will no longer be the mirror you look into to feel like a man. They will no longer be mothers, muses, or judges. They will simply be companions, and you won't love them for what they give. You'll love them because you choose to, from strength, from presence, from the only place where real love can begin wholeness. Jung didn't give you formulas. He left you a warning that if you don't confront yourself, you'll be shaped by the projections of others. But he also left you a challenge to become the author, not of a role of your life. And if you've made it this far, it's because you already feel it. Your moment to awaken has arrived.